So if skills are not all that we need, what else? What else? Apart from adaptability, emotional intelligence, and continuous learning.
Thank you very much, Nuella, once again. And my great respect to my brother, Henry. Yes, he's giving us three nuggets. Let me throw a bit more light on a few things. So again, your recurrency of growth is no longer just your capital. Capital in this sense, pardon me, it means your skill, your knowledge, and of course, your competence. But it is a blend of your social network. Your social network. Who do you know? Who knows you beyond your skill? Because who will speak about you when you're not in that room? Very, very important. Number two is your psychological capital. First, social capital, that is your network. Secondly, I'll talk about psychological capital. Your mindset, how resilient are you? How resilient are you? Okay, because growth is no longer just linear. There's a whole lot of setbacks that is going to happen. Do you have that capacity to be able to withstand pressure? Can you manage stress? All right? Can you maintain optimism? In the face of challenges, can you persist where others will quit? Because that's a foundational currency for you. And this will determine how far that you can push boundaries of your own potential. And the third thing there, I'll talk about your reputational capital. What is your reputational capital? Your brand and your trust. Who are you? Are you reliable? Do you have integrity? Because these two things, they are the bedrock of your relational currency. If you are not reliable and you are not ethical and you are not consistent in the way that you make people feel, can people take risk on you? Beyond your skill, can people take risk on you? Can they even share their best ideas with you and trust you with it? And can you be able to build a long-term partnership with people? Your reputational capital is very, very important to take you along your career journey beyond your skill. How reliable are you? Who do you know? Who knows you? Who can put in a word for you when you are not there? Then again, can you manage ambiguity without you constantly needing supervision? If your boss is not there, like the example that Henry gave, where your boss is not there and you are asked to be in that room to represent your boss, can your boss rely on you that you will get that job done without embarrassing him in such a situation? Okay, then for you, beyond your current role, do you have the ability to be able to think beyond the immediate task that you are being given? Can we see you taking on responsibility beyond your role? That capacity, have you demonstrated it, even when you just have just one opportunity? And more importantly, do you have the ability to protect the organization? Can you protect our brand? If you are moved to this next role, have you demonstrated that resilience, that capacity to be able to defend your brand whenever you have the opportunity? Can you continue to get things done and continue to add measurable value and create impact? So all of these things that I've mentioned, they are invisible, yet beyond your skill, they will help you to journey ahead your career. Let me leave it there.
Now again, I'll ask this question. What are those invisible factors? Because sometimes when leaders want to consider people for bigger roles, sometimes you don't even understand what informs their decision. You think you're doing so well, and then you're passed, and you're wondering, I'm working my back off. Oh, this position was available, and I wasn't nominated to fill the gap. What's going on? So, Yemi, since you are here, what do you think are those invisible factors? Well, you're a leader, so what are these invisible factors that leaders can consider when they want to fill better roles?
Thank you very much once again, Rella. So, for me, I've had the opportunity of leading, even from the age of 7. And over again, at this very moment, I lead HR team of a multinational organization. And one of the things that often comes to me subconsciously when I want to entrust responsibilities, to people is to ask myself, will this person reduce my stress or will he increase it? That's one question that often comes to me whenever I need to entrust responsibility to other people. Because people that get bigger roles, they don't panic publicly. When they find themselves in a public space, even when there are things that they don't know, even when there are situations that create fear, they just calm down because they're able to manage themselves. They're able to understand the room and read the room. And they understand the fact that even if you don't have all the right answers at that moment, panic is not the next solution. They don't just escalate every issue. They know that, oh, for my boss to trust me, I must be able to solve problems in his absence. Those little problems, I should be able to solve it and not always escalate things up. And of course, they're able to disagree without creating drama. Because that's another thing. Like what Henry said earlier on, you are in a room of top people, you are representing your boss, and you are seeing a leader who's probably veering off the line. You don't necessarily have to create drama in order to correct that person or to disagree with that person. You must read the room and understand. Calm is the currency here. Leaders will always trust those who don't create emotional noise. People don't just create emotional noise. Another thing is judgment when no one is watching. Okay? Leaders want to watch how you talk about your absent colleagues. When your colleagues are absent from work, leaders are looking at you. Are you just judging them without interrogating the issues and understanding why? Whether you bend rules a little when it suits you, in your own little position and so I've given it to you, do you bend rules? Oh, let's compromise a little, it's my paddy, you can work around this, okay? How do you act when there is no immediate reward? When we talk about deferred gratification, okay? If I say that, oh, I'm going on leave, you should stand in for me, and you are not going to pay anything, for relieving me. How do you act in such situation? Do you just say, you know what? How can you give me out to my work? And you are not giving me any relief allowance for doing that. How do you handle ethical ambiguities? Because as a leader, you are faced with a lot of ethical issues. And again, when you want to entrust another person with a leadership position or responsibility, you want to be sure that they can manage a lot of ambiguities while remaining very ethical. If your ethics fluctuates with convenience, trust will collapse silently. I repeat that. If your ethics will fluctuate with convenience, then trust will collapse quietly. Do you have the good instincts when there is no rule book? When you don't have any rule book to follow, are you able to have that instinct to understand that, oh, this thing, you have to be careful? And finally, let me land here with taking ownership of problem, not reporting problem. That is one thing, okay, that leaders will consider when they are, deciding whether to trust you or not. Okay, when they give you bigger roles to play, can you absorb chaos and not pass it upward? Can you solve problem and take ownership of situation? Leaders will always look out for who says, here is the problem, here is what I've tried, here are the 2 options or 3 options for you to pick from. So let me leave it there by wrapping up saying, number 1, are you consistent under pressure? Can I trust you emotionally? Okay, will you reduce my stress or will you increase it? Do you have the emotional intelligence and the self-awareness? And do you have the ownership mindset? Can you apply discretion and maintain confidentiality? And of course, can you influence people even when you don't have the authority? These are very, very critical for leaders to trust you with bigger roles. Let me leave you there.
If you would share with us, what would be that one behavior that you had to unlearn, which has helped you to grow professionally? So we're going personal now.
Wow. All right, let me attempt to just describe the behavior and share a bit of the experience without necessarily giving out quite a number of details because I'm not
protection.
sure if some of the people who were involved in those exits were probably on this call. Okay, so one very, very important behavior that I had to unlearn is waiting to be recognized. Waiting to be recognized. I've always been someone who likes to work behind the scene, who like to, keep on, executing behind the scene, running behind, planning, arranging, getting things done, fixing everything at the back, at the back end, while somebody else is leading and, just there. I love to have my boss free up their time, focus on strategy and, and execution. And, I not necessarily have to bother about, what is going on behind the scene. I take, those spaces. But oftentimes, over time, I discovered that most of the time, people are asking if they see me on the podium, on the screen, for the first time, wondering who is this person? Where is he coming from? What has he done before? And all of that. Because somehow my name, even when I prepared some presentation for my, managers or anybody back then, my name does not appear on the slide. Nothing there says anything about, those who have done the work behind the scene. And you see most of the times I'm preparing all the research, doing everything, and over time I found out that, what, if I keep waiting to be recognized, somehow you will do all the hard work, you put on all the effort, but nobody knows you. Because like one of my mentors would say, nobody winks in the dark. Again, it's a familiar person to myself and Henry, the person who usually have that quote. He will say that nobody winks in the dark. Just like the Bible says that you don't light a candle and put it under a bushel and cover it up. It will not be seen. You have to, the good book says that we are a city that is set on the high, okay, that we must shine. Because many performers, believe that if you do excellent work, someone will notice you. All right? They always feel that speaking up may look arrogant. I fell into that trap because I don't want to be, named is arrogant, is proud. Why is he telling us that he's the one that did this and all of that? I always believe that results should speak for themselves. That when people see the quality of your work, okay, they should know your stuff and all of those things, right? But in reality, I found out that organizations don't reward silence. Companies don't reward silence. They reward clarity. All right? So waiting to be recognized most times, it looks like humility, right? It feels, okay, you want to be humble, you want to be quiet, not just do your thing. But leaders, they often see it as lack of confidence. Like you don't have confidence. That's why you are quiet. They always think that you just lack ambition. You are just comfortable in your comfort zone. All right? They feel that you lack the readiness for responsibility. When you're just calm, you're calm, cool, and collected. No. But the moment I unlearned this particular behavior, all right, my growth was accelerated because every opportunity that I had, I make the best use of the platform without sounding arrogant, without blowing my trumpet out of the roof, but I learned to blow it again, because if you don't blow your trumpet, who will blow it for you? But what is important is that you know how to blow it and not blow it louder or too loud, that it will become noise. That is very important. So I began to articulate my impact without having to apologize for it, which is very, very critical. Okay? I'm able to now state what I want instead of hoping that somebody will understand what I want. Instead of believing that somebody will just infer it. I learned to be able to, state it. And I'm able to to frame my work in terms of outcomes and not just the effort that I put in. And all of these has helped to accelerate my career, and my journey. I once, because of that behavior, before I was able to unlearn it, I spent over 5 years on a particular role in a particular organization. And I kept on doing all the work, but other people kept on getting the praises and the reward. But the moment I understood that I needed to always, once I have the opportunity, I don't waste it. I communicate my impact. I don't have to apologize for it, by the way. In the best of tones, I'm able to present and articulate what I want and what I'm able to do, the clarity around the impacts and the value that I bring to the table. And this is very, very important, for anybody that wants to progress, in career. You should not wait to recognize. Find opportunity to make impact. And when it comes, take it and don't allow it to slip away. I think I'll leave it there, Noella.
Now, I'm sure some people are going to be wondering, so how am I supposed to toot my horn without sounding like I am praising myself? So where do we strike the balance? Because it's not easy for somebody to toot their own horn and not sound like they are, overdoing it. Where do we strike the balance?
All right. So
How do we do
let's look at when you want to orchestrate, music. For example, you have several instruments that are playing at the same time. The trumpet is sounding. The keyboard is on. The drum is being played. The guitar is also being played. But if one instrument is extremely louder than the others, it becomes noise in the ears of the listeners. But when you orchestrate a good blend of everybody playing to the tune, and you are able to coordinate and ensure that you are not blowing your trumpet out of line, the guitar is not sounding out of line, the drummer is not just continuously beating very loudly, that is where you strike that balance. Understanding the temperament of the room, knowing when it is your own time to showcase your own impact without in any way bringing other people down. That is very, very critical. You don't bring other people down. Communicate your own impact. Don't begin to say, oh, I do this more than this person. Oh, within the team, I'm the only one that's able to do this. Recognize the effort of everybody. Communicate your own impact. What is your own role within the team? How are you able to deliver and support and collaborate well? How has your own value impacted other people and also enabled other people also to also become valuable? Because when we go alone, we go a mile. But when we go together, of course, we go further. Thank you.
There are many people in this room, I believe, who feel that they have been overlooked despite working so hard. What piece of advice would you give them?
Okay, so in 30 seconds, I will just drop nuggets quickly. One, I will say number one, hard work is essential, but it must be visible and relevant. Make sure that the right people know what you are working on and why it matters. You need to participate in career conversations, seek feedback, and develop a very clear understanding of what leadership value and rewards. You must know what leaders value and what they reward. Seek stretch assignments. Don't just be comfortable in your comfort zone. Look for things that will stretch you. Not everyone opened the door that is meant for now. It's not every open door that you see that is meant for now. Some doors will require thicker skin, stronger judgment, an ability for you to lead without bitterness, so that you don't arrive before your time, because you could take on responsibilities that you are not prepared for. And that's very important. Sometimes waiting does not mean that you have been forgotten. It only means that you are being prepared. So it's very important, because the work that you are doing, you are building skill, you are building resilience, and you are building credibility, even when no one is applauding. So keep at it. Don't lose hope. When that time comes, you'll be discovered.
Some people have asked some questions. Somebody asked, how do you manage your boss? I saw that
Emotional
question.
intelligence. Know yourself, know your boss. Know yourself, know your boss. Understand what your boss looks out for whenever he gives an assignment, and understand what he expects that should be the output that he needs. Once you are able to know that, you'll be able to manage your boss better. For the lack of time, I will have expatiated a lot. That is a whole topic on its own. But for lack of time, I would say demonstrate emotional intelligence, be self-aware, understand your boss, know the kind of questions he asks, know the kind of output he expects, and of course, know his routine. And you will be able to manage your boss. It's very, very important. It starts from
Okay, so I actually forgot to qualify this, but this person said a difficult boss. Do you part a difficult boss?
Okay, good evening, everybody. First of all, let me appreciate you for this session. Honestly, the panelists have been wonderful. Okay, my question is, as a human resource manager, how can you, let me give a scenario. Like you have a line manager or someone who's in charge of a department, and oftentimes the person is not always forthcoming. It's more like it's the people that are under him that you will now have to reach out to get what you really want. And sometimes the manager will now see it kind of that you're overlooking the person, but most times the person is not always forthcoming, and you need this information quickly. So how will you really be able to manage this situation as a human resource manager?
Okay, fine. So the first thing I would say in this kind of situation is this particular person, could it be a case of capacity gap or capability gap? Then again, too, could it be that the person has deliberately delegated responsibility to his team and is trying to create that environment for everybody to be able to trust his team, and rather than bringing all the issues to him? So depending on what the findings are, if it is a capability gap, all right, it means that somebody somehow needs to be able to present that to the management in such a way that you are not reporting, but the flaws of the department. And that's one of the benefits of having 360-degree feedback loop, an anonymous feedback system in organizations, where employees can have the opportunity of course, communicating even without being, known, so that they're able to put that, forward. If it is a capability gap, it probably means that maybe that person, it's time for the person to either be replaced. Again, whistleblowing and feedback loop will help to take care of that. But if it is a case of the person empowering his or her team, then it means that people need to understand clearly what you need to escalate to that person. For example, if the person has multiple specialists under him or her, and you are asking questions around, say, compensation and benefit, for example, the person will not necessarily attend to you. It will just, delegate it, because the person is a specialist that is working under him. Talent management, you know who to speak to. Leave requests, all of those things, So the person expects that things that are strategic, that he will necessarily want to attend to.